All right.
Are we ready yet? Oh.
Yeah, sorry. Yes, we are ready.
I had a little bit of info to share.
Oh, tell me.
Well, look at you this evening.
Okay.
Is this for somebody's birthday?
Shango.
Shango's birthday.
Yes.
You know what I remember? Oh, Odie Hawkins here, Zola, Salena-Hawkins there. I remember when Francisco Aguadella was alive, and Shango's birthday came on December 2nd.
Ah.
I remember December 2nd.
Okay.
And he always made it a point to let everybody know no work on December 2nd. I want to continue a little bit of where we were yesterday. Oh, you got that too? Well, I have Henry Box Brown.
Oh,
versus,
okay. Fantastic.
Who's another person that we should know a little bit more about.
This is true.
In the coming years, maybe we will. Continue what we were about yesterday concerning the snake doctor.
Right.
I stopped short of going into it because we didn't have very much time. A snake doctor, it's a very interesting story. Here is the way stories develop. Okay, as a budding writer, she's in my writing class.
Yes, I am.
And doing well, I must say.
I think it's.
I congratulate you. I thought we might have a bit of a problem because somebody might accuse me of nepotism or something like that. But it works out fine. The genesis for this book started in 1992.
Interesting.
Well, I decided to take a trip to Ghana. I wasn't going to find my roots or anything like that. I always felt that Alex Haley had done that. But, you know, I've been to Europe and some other places. Why not Africa? You know, African American. I think African Americans should go to Africa.
Right.
That's why we went.
Yes.
Well, one of the reasons why we went. Anyway, in 1992, the Ghana that I went to is very different from the Ghana we have today.
Most definitely.
Yeah, I mean, we went in 2013.
2013 and 2014.
Okay. I would say from 92 until the time we went was like a space age change. Things like this were happening. This is the genesis, or might call it catalyst, of why it is I came with a story about a man called Snake Doctor. Don't laugh. This actually happened.
Yes, I saw it in the paper.
Okay, this is from a tabloid newspaper dated Thursday, 20 July 2006. Snake vomits dollars. All roads led to the commandos part of Accra, Newtown, otherwise known as Lagos Town, around 5:30 a.m. yesterday when word spread around about a money-vomiting snake. A money-vomiting snake.
Interesting.
Various tales were given about what happened, one of which had it that a quarrelsome grandmother in a compound house in this part of the suburb, close to the story building housing some military personnel, had heard an unusual recitation akin to an incantation and caught the whiff of strong scented incenses as well.
Okay.
She therefore went immediately into the room to find out what was happening. Upon entry, her 18-year-old granddaughter was chatting as two red candles gave out a yellowish glow.
Oh my goodness.
The spectacle was so esoteric and frightening. You get words like esoteric and frightening in a Ghanaian newspaper.
Okay.
The scared granny screamed, but her granddaughter pleaded with her to take it easy and avoid creating a scene. The old lady could not be bothered, especially on seeing In addition, the gruesome contents of a carton of CDs, an African python, and some currency in American dollar and CD denominations. Within the twinkle of an eye, a crowd from nearby Nema, Lagos Town, and even Mabobi had assembled at the location. The enraged old woman quickly went for a pail of boiling water and poured the hot fluid on the esoteric python. I have no idea what an esoteric python is.
Okay, yes. So he's no more. Okay.
Which died instantly. According to the eyewitnesses at the scene, the young girl vanished without a trace when her secret was let out.
Whoa.
The girl, whose account of the event could thus not be obtained, was said to have sought money-making juju, and the juju man was said to have prescribed for her what to do on a Wednesday on reaching the house. Unfortunately for her, her scared grandmother, who was reported to have said she could not keep mute over such a scary scene, spilled the beans and went ahead to kill the mystery snake.
Wow.
I think it's being a little bit redundant there.
Okay.
But how it concerns me personally deals with the fact that when I went to Ghana, I was living in a neighborhood
Yes.
called Osu.
Yes.
You met friends that
Wonderful.
wonderful friends, Fast Eddie, Reverend Edward Ofori Ba,
Yes.
Aziji, Pani, bunch of guys and women.
And your taxi cab driver,
The taxi
could
cab
I
driver.
find the
Brother Kwame, what
Right.
we talking about, our recent man,
Kofi.
Kofi, the magician,
right
who
Leonard
could take
Kennedy?
you anywhere, anytime.
Yes, all those wonderful people.
In 1992, when I was there, living in this neighborhood, there was a man who had a carpentry shop right down the road. And as an African American, he thought I was rich and I had everything going for me. Actually, I was living on a very small pension that was coming to me and that I desperately needed every month.
Sure.
That's another story. But, you know, he would talk to me as, you know, oh, Mr. O'Day, they call me O'Day. You don't know your name. Your name is not Odie. Your name is O'Day. There are many people like you up in the eastern region. Ah, okay. Mr. O'Day, I want to have some more money, some more CDs, in order to be able to buy myself a new car, and also to enlarge my business and to get another wife.
He asked this of you.
Yeah. Okay. I've noticed the list of things that were important. New car, enlarge his business, get another wife.
Right. Okay. Is
Say,
that
hey,
order? Okay,
hey man,
that order.
I can't help you. Well, you know, I don't know anything.
No.
So according to the story, I can't validate it. I can't say I would rubber stamp it because I wasn't there. But someone, his business did improve.
Okay.
He did get a new car.
Sort of suddenly, yes. Okay. Yeah.
Whatever it was that happened.
No.
Whatever it was that happened.
Yes.
I wasn't privy to any of it. But it seemed that somebody went into the shop after a period of time, maybe 2 or 3 months, and there was a big snake in a chair, and Mr. Nee, I think his name was pushing his hand down in the snake's mouth, pulling out CDs, the Ghanaian currency. I wasn't there, I didn't see it.
Right.
But
And it was been said by many people.
by many people. The thing about it is that in this place, in that place at that time, well, what I'm saying, they still have it. There were men, mostly, I've never heard of a woman, called juju men. These are not ordinary priests from a priest's house. These are men who practice a form of dark magic, let's say. And they will make a suggestive prescription for something. You go to the juju man and you say, I want to have a new car, enlarge my business, and marry another wife. And he says to you, do this, this, this. It might mean, and I don't mean to be gruesome, It might mean having a new baby's head, a newborn baby's head, a black cat's tail, some dirt from a graveyard from a recently deceased person or whatever it is, and I think it gives birth to these. But it's not Eastern European zombies and people in the castle.
Right, okay.
It really is their particular own style of doing things. So that was the catalyst, or the gave me the incentive
to write. The Snake Doctor.
The Snake Doctor. The Snake Doctor is not someone who doctors snakes, but he's in collusion with the snakes. I tell you what, I'd like to read a little bit of where this man goes back to his father. His father predates. This is a movie maker, African-American movie maker, whose father had gone to this village years before and had received supernatural assistance from a man who lived in the forest.
Yes.
And now the son is going back to this place. It's to a little village called Chito. T-S-I-T-O. Chito. Yeah. No running water except for one spigot. I think they had a telephone that was always out of order, and it was muddy in the rainy season.
Wow.
Our friend is writing, this is in chapter 24, our friend is writing to his father. Dear Dad, I'm now in the small place where you once stayed with Aunt Eugenia. I don't know how old she is, but she has twice as much energy as I have. She has just marched off down the road with a basket full of tomatoes on her head, which I could barely lift. She's a bit gruff, but very nice, very sweet. I like her. The taxi driver who drove me here is named Kwame, great-grandfather's name. Kwame, born on Saturday. The man is a rich source of cultural information. He will be collecting me on Sunday morning. Today is Friday. I've been here overnight and I feel as though I've been here for weeks. There's a great natural rhythm here. You wake when the roosters crow, go to bed when it gets dark. It may sound like a cliche, but it's so quiet. I can literally hear myself think. I'm staying in what is called Old Chito, the village that you once stayed in. Old Chito looks like something from an issue of National Geographic, with the thatch huts and old stuff. New Chito, a couple of football fields away, has cinder blocks and corrugated tin rooftops. I imagine it's quite hot inside one of those dwellings. I haven't broached the subject of Asiafo, the girl who left the village, or any of that, upon the advice of Brother Kwame, the taxi driver. He suggested I give it all a chance to come out as it comes out, not to force anything. I'm cool with that. It's close to midday noon and the sun seems to be directly overhead. It's hot and humid, but the civility of the scene makes everything cool. I don't know when I'll be able to drop this letter into a mailbox, but I thought I would write it anyway just to let you know, to let you and Mom know that I'm having a great, interesting time, and that I thank you both for preparing me for this adventure. Love, Kofi. I have several of these books that have an African background, and I think I'm proudest of this one. But let me say this: the African American thing is really tricky. We have a friend in Ghana. Your friend.
Our friend.
Well, I was thinking of him, but also Susan Amagashi.
Yes, please.
Susan Amagashi was one of the first people to establish a Montessori school in West Africa, and specifically in Accra, Ghana. She called it the Busy Bee Learning Center.
Yes, indeed.
Occasionally, as you know, she sends us pieces and bits of what she's interested in, and vice versa. The other night, I don't know if I told you that I wrote this, but certainly you must know that I wrote it because you just typed it.
Yes, indeed. Well, I know that the video she sent, you felt very strongly about.
Okay, I couldn't hold my feelings in, so I had to write a little story about, not a little story, but
A response.
A little response.
Okay.
The brother sitting in front of the camera, the same way we're doing here, and he's talking about what it is that Americans are doing to piss him off and so forth and so forth and so on. He goes on and on, he rants for a bit. Here's the way it goes. I'm calling it the African trip. Susan Amagashi, one of our best Ghanaian friends, frequently shares Africana that she's interested in or that she thinks we would be interested in. The latest posting is of a young African man going on about how distressed he is with America's getting into his African business. 10 minutes worth. It's quite easy to agree with the brother's assertion that America spends far too much time minding Africa's business. The problem that surfaces from his rant is that his ignorance of the American scheme of things disables the point he wants to make.
Yes. I know.
I don't know why it's so difficult for many Africans to understand that there are many Americas, many different kinds of Americans. African Americans, a designation that he skirts like a puddle of dirty water, are very different from Euro Americans. It has to do with the history of African Americans. We were imported not to be Americans, but to be slaves. Unless that is clear to the continental African, who is pissed with the America that is messing around in his business, then he will never be able to ally himself with the African American struggle to be identified as African Americans.
Yes.
Or simply to be considered human beings. There was a time when I was younger, more tolerant of African ignorance of the state of affairs in African America, that I would simply smile and move on. I find it much more difficult to do that these days. I think it has a lot to do with the information highway, the internet, intercommunication. If I can locate the capital of Ghana on a map and know a bit of West African history, then it seemed reasonable to me that the African should know something about me. African American youth are frequent targets for police shootings. The American prison system has a disproportionate number of African Americans in jail.
That's true.
Read Michelle Alexander's New Jim Crow. Find out what the old Jim Crow was all about. The old white politicians are constantly trying to find new ways to disenfranchise us. We have to struggle for every inch of progress in America. The brother doesn't seem to know anything about any of this. Maybe by some magical means, if he were able to come over and spend a week in one of the North American ghettos, or one of the South American ghettos, or one of the Caribbean ghettos, he would be more reluctant to simply say Americans when he really is pointing a dark finger at white folks. That's been a frequent little bug.
But you know, but then there's on the other, flip the coin, and it's the African Americans, Irish Americans, Spanish Americans, Polish Americans, a whole host of Americans who know nothing about Africa and think, you know, people are running around still in jungles. Or
lions in the streets.
Lions in the streets, you know, don't think of Africa with large buildings and, you know, freeways, what have you. So there's ignorance, lack of knowledge, you know, especially
on both sides.
On both sides, especially when you have the internet and you have means in which you can take time to learn about each other.
You know, but I think a lot of people are more comfortable with their stereotype thinking than they are with the facts.
Right, yeah.
I don't want to know that. I don't want to know that. All I want to do is know what it is I think. Right. I can remember so many times when I first went to Ghana, and I was living in a small compound in an area called Labadi. It's been renamed La the body needs the bad ones. I think the body chamber of commerce said, hey, this is this is not his law. I don't know what law means.
Okay.
But I can remember times when the minute I told people that I was from Chicago, they always started pretending they had machine guns in their hands.
Okay.
So, no. You know, I didn't come from that Chicago. That Chicago was mafia Chicago. I was not in the mafia. I lived on the west side in the basement, and we certainly didn't have machine guns. So if we had, we would start shooting rats that were running up and down the place.
This is true.
So, yeah, it's weird. The more information we seem to have, the more ignorant we get.
Well, and also it's like, I think, a frame of reference, like when you're talking about people who wanted to see Tarzan.
Tarzan!
Okay, all right.
My friends call me.
You're like, excuse me,
we're sitting at the local bar, Chalazar, and they have a television, medium-sized television, in the back room, something. And we're drinking beer and having a nice time. And somebody says, Mr. Day, the telly is Tarzan is on. This was the old Tarzan, Johnny Weissmuller. And I'm looking at, why would I want to go watch Tarzan?
Why did I come to Africa to watch Tarzan?
I couldn't make them understand. They couldn't figure that out. But it's Tarzan. I don't.
Well, you know, and then I had some of Mother's friends from Africa stay with me for a little while, and they.
Your mother?
My mother, Queen Jewel.
Queen Jewel.
Queen Jewel Gray. And these individuals thought that the Dukes of Hazzard was real. No, that's not quite real. Okay, but they're from a small village, and you know, it was an interesting cultural exchange where I said, you know, I'm giving you each a toothbrush. You use your toothbrush. You know, each of you have a wash rag. You use each of your wash rags, and so you know, it was, and it was interesting because they also were not familiar with an assertive African American woman. It was like, no, we don't do that, and no, yes, we can do that.
That must have been a shock.
Oh, it was both ways. Both ways.
Well, wait a minute. Let me ask you this, because we've been talking about the new thing, the invitation of African Americans to come to Ghana.
Yes.
It's very interesting about Ghana, of all places. It's surrounded by French-speaking countries, Cote d'Ivoire to the north, Burkina Faso to the east. What is it? Togo to the south. And there's this English-speaking conclave right in the middle. They refuse to learn French. You know, they for a long time it was British English.
Yes.
Everyone sit up and
yes.
So it's not so much that anymore. But what impact do you think happened when the Essence Beauty scene came to Accra?
I'm quite curious. It will be very interesting when we go back, hopefully this year or no later than next. But you know, I miss my beer, I miss the shitar.
You don't drink?
I don't.
What are you talking about?
I like that beer. I like the
ABC. Oh no, ABC Club Beer bought ABC out.
Oh, it's so good.
Because it's so hot.
Yeah.
You know, the humidity.
Right, okay. And the shitar and the fufu.
The shitar.
Oh yes.
Yeah, hot sauce.
Miss it.
Some people didn't take to the food. I can remember for years I used to, in Chicago, there would be groups of people who were being taken to Africa with my former school teacher, Dr. Marvin Burroughs. And they came back and they lied. You know, we had such a great time. When you pull them off to the side, say, you know, tell me the truth. Oh man, it's dirty. The food is it's inedible. You can't. They eat some sticky stuff called fufu. What is that stuff called? Kinky.
You know, not having an open mind. Okay, maybe the bathroom accommodations are not quite what you're used to, but at least they have bathroom accommodations.
No.
You know? Yes. Okay.
At one point,
maybe not when you went.
That was not in every little.
This is true.
Yeah.
And you know, the country kitchen, and You know,
you said
just
a favorite restaurant in Accra.
favorite restaurant.
For those who plan to take a trip to Accra, go to downtown Osu and ask someone where the country kitchen is. It's a large hut, thatched like an old-fashioned hut, but it seats maybe 50, 75 people. It's open on all sides, and then there's a thatch. I think they cleaned it up, but I can remember from time to time there might be a stray lizard who would fall down,
I saw the lizard,
in your soup, and you pick it out, or then it skitter away. They're good to be around because they eat mosquitoes and stuff. It's folksy and homey, and generally we found that you know, people are quite friendly if you're friendly.
Yes, I love the staff at the Acacia Lodge.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
You know, they were friendly and, you know, didn't mind us exercising or me practicing my track, and, you know, just...
Oh my God, that
yes,
was a trip.
Yes.
The 71-year-old 100-yard dash.
I was 71. I was in my 60s at that time.
Oh, 69?
Yeah, well, 68.
68, okay.
Yeah, right, yeah.
It was still ancient.
No.
I mean,
no.
68-year-old woman don't run up and down the road in front of the auto. I can remember this lady with the big something on her head, big platter or something on her head, with a baby on the back. Turned to look, and there was this trail of smoke. There goes Zola.
Lovely.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, we're going to leave here after having had a little chit chat.
Well, let me stand
And-
next to sort of point out this.
Where can you buy the book?
Oh, you can buy it on Amazon or Barnes & Noble. All you have to do is go to the internet or go to your local bookstore and say you want a book by Odie Hawkins, and they can pull them up, or you can do it on the internet. And especially the Snake Doctor. I really like it. And Bahati's picture and Odie's picture on the back.
Oh.
It's a lovely read, and it's sort of a Bastian type.
Yes, I
Yes.
rather like that.
You rather
It's a
like
lovely
that.
read, actually.
Okay, yes indeed. Okay, and this
So
guy,
wait a minute.
who's almost as tall as
He's
I am.
almost as tall.
Yes.
Oh, he's on the staff.
Yeah, he is on the stand.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But this is, once again, one of the pieces that Zola's mother, the 92-year-old queen, who recently passed, gave us before she left, along with some other pieces. And we've been adoring him. I think he likes us back. I whisper things to him all the time, and I think I get some replies, but I can't translate them.
This is so true. Very
So
true.
on that note, I think we should get out of here.
I think so too.
Yeah.
For midnight meal.
There you go.
All right then. Bye.
See you next time, which will be tomorrow, Sunday.
Yes.
Ciao.
Ciao.